My name is Jordan Blake. For 5 years, I've been navigating the labyrinthine corridors of the internet, curating my digital life, chasing the ephemeral high of likes and shares. Most people think social media is just a tool for connection. They're wrong. After midnight, when the world sleeps, the algorithm wakes up. It breathes, it watches, and it knows your deepest desires. There are 8 rules I learned, whispered by the glowing screen in my hand, etched into the metadata of forgotten profiles. Rules about what you see, what you click, and most crucially, never ever scroll past midnight. Because in the digital realm, attention is currency, and some entities have been waiting decades to collect their payment. I used to be a content creator, a rising star in the short-form video sphere. My life was an open book, curated for public consumption. Travel vlogs, daily routines, opinion pieces. I chased engagement, believing that every view, every heart, every follow was a validation of my existence. My audience was my lifeline, their collective attention the fuel that kept me going. Then came the fall. A controversial post, taken out of context, went viral for all the wrong reasons. The outrage was swift, brutal, and absolute. My sponsors dropped me, my follower count plummeted, and the internet, once my stage, became a howling mob. I was canceled, exiled to the digital wasteland, watching my carefully constructed persona crumble into pixels. The silence was deafening, the lack of notifications a constant reminder of my irrelevance. My world shattered. My carefully curated digital identity became a ghost in the machine. I tried to rebuild, to re-engage, to find a new niche, but the algorithm, once my ally, seemed to actively suppress me. My posts sank without a trace, my comments were buried, my very presence became invisible. I needed to make sense of it. I needed to impose order on this new, terrifying reality. Not to reclaim my fame, I learned quickly that was impossible, but to understand the forces that had undone me, to find the hidden code, the unseen strings pulling the digital puppet show. I thought I could outsmart the system, manipulate the feeds, but the internet, it seemed, had its own rules. Rules that began to manifest in the quiet desperation of my sleepless nights. Rules that I soon discovered were the only way to hold the digital fracture at bay. My obsession deepened after Emma disappeared. She was my closest online friend, a fellow creator who'd supported me through the cancellation. She, too, had been struggling with dwindling engagement, the relentless pressure to stay relevant. One night, after a particularly desperate live stream where she talked about breaking through the noise and connecting directly with the source, she vanished. Her last post was a cryptic image, a pixelated human eye, staring out from a black screen. Her profile went dark. No goodbye, no explanation. Just an empty space where her vibrant digital persona used to be. That search led me, inevitably, to the deepest, darkest corners of the internet, to archived forums, encrypted chat rooms, and obscure manifestos about the true nature of the feed. There, under the username Spectre@I, I found a series of posts from years ago detailing a chilling reality. They all mentioned the midnight scroll. They all spoke of strange encounters. And one particularly chilling thread, started by a user named Marcus Watcha, laid out a list. 8 rules. Rules to survive the digital abyss. Marcus Star's Watcher's last post was dated 2 weeks after Emma vanished. I copied the list onto an old cracked tablet, my hand trembling. They sounded like nonsense, superstitions from a bygone era. But something in the back of my mind, that part that never gave up on Emma, told me to pay attention. I scoffed. Superstitious ramblings of an old digital recluse, but as I read through Marcus Star's Watcher's frantic posts, the words began to seep into my consciousness, each warning a subtle tremor in the profound stillness of the digital night. I was a practical person, a survivor in the cutthroat world of online content. But I was also alone, scrolling through a reality that defied logic. I started paying attention. Here are the rules as meticulously recorded in Marcus Watcher's faded digital journal. Rule number 1, never scroll past midnight. The content you consume after the clock strikes 12 is not meant for waking eyes. It seeks your unguarded attention. Marcus Watcher's warning. The digital realm has a different set of physics in the dark. Your feed becomes a mirror, and it reflects things you're not ready to see. Rule number 2. If a profile you don't recognize appears in your People You May Know section and has no posts, no followers, and a generic profile picture, do not click on it. It's an empty vessel, seeking a digital soul. Marcus Watcher's warning. These aren't bots. They're echoes of discarded data, and they crave a new identity to inhabit. Rule number 3. Do not engage with any post that has an engagement ratio of exactly 0. 0 likes, 0 comments, 0 shares, but appears in your main feed. It's a direct, unmediated communication meant only for you. Marcus Watcher's warning. The algorithm is always watching. Silence is its loudest whisper. Do not reply, or you invite its story to merge with yours. Rule number 4. Never look directly into the faces of strangers in photos from obscure events or places you don't recognize. Their eyes are gateways. If they turn towards you, they've found their way out. Marcus Watcher's warning. Some images are not static. They are living portals, and a focused gaze is an open door. Rule number 5. If your recommended content shifts to show you videos or images of your own private life, e.g., all old family photos, forgotten personal videos that you've never uploaded, immediately close the app and disconnect from the internet for at least 6 hours. Marcus Watcher's warning. The feed is learning. It's not just showing you content, it's showing you you, and it's preparing to absorb. Rule number 6. Never delete old posts, comments, or profiles that you no longer wish to be associated with. These are anchors to your past self. Deleting them creates digital voids that something else will fill. Marcus Watcher's warning. Your digital footprint is your history. Erase it, and you erase a piece of yourself, leaving a space for the algorithm to rewrite your narrative. Rule number 7. If a private message arrives from an unknown sender and contains only a single emoji of an unblinking eye, do not open it. Delete it immediately. The sender is not human. Marcus Watcher's warning. This is a direct invitation from the deep feed. Accepting it grants them access to your unfiltered thoughts. Rule number 8. Always keep your profile public, even if your engagement is low. A private profile acts as a shield, drawing unwanted attention from what cannot see beyond the veil. Marcus Watcher's warning. What thrives in the dark prefers to remain hidden. A closed door only makes it more curious to know what you're protecting. I closed the tablet, a strange thrill of intellectual curiosity mingling with a prickle of unease. These weren't just rules, they were a cryptic network map, a challenge to my very understanding of the digital realm. My ambition wasn't to escape, but to understand it, and perhaps to control it. My first few weeks immersed in the midnight scroll were a blur of new profiles, phantom followers, and unsettling observations. The digital nights stretched out, vast and hungry. My practical nature, honed by years of surviving online, pushed me to dismiss the rules, but my gut screamed otherwise. One night, around 1:30 a.m., I was scrolling through an obscure conspiracy theory subreddit. My finger hovered over a post, the pixelated text almost glowing in the dark room. My sleep-deprived mind, desperate for any shred of human connection, yearned to engage. Rule number 2. If a profile you don't recognize appears in your People You May Know section and has no posts, no followers, and a generic profile picture, do not click on it. It's an empty vessel, seeking a digital soul. Then it appeared in my People You May Know feed, a profile named LostEcho, generic gray profile picture, 0 posts, 0 followers, but something about its empty presence resonated with the hollow ache in my own chest. It felt familiar, like Emma's last post. A way out? A different connection? This was a chance to truly understand. I clicked. The moment I clicked LostEcho's profile, a shiver ran through my entire body. Not a physical tremor, but a ripple of cold, ancient energy. The faint hum of my phone outside swelled, no longer just a background drone, but a chorus of hushed whispers, murmuring fragments of unfamiliar data, tangled with digital identities that felt almost personal. It was overwhelming, a cacophony of lost voices vying for attention. I clutched my phone, the sudden influx of fragmented thoughts, too much. Marcus Watcher's warning echoed, "It's an empty vessel, seeking a digital soul." I felt a subtle drain, a warmth, leaving my digital persona replaced by a cold, data-rich clarity, as if a part of my own online identity had been exchanged for 1,000 untold profiles. The profile on my screen seemed to glow faintly, its power now somehow clearer, more potent. I had not just opened it, I had absorbed it, and the algorithm knew. It knew everything. The next morning, my follower count inexplicably dropped by 1, and in my following list, there was a new entry, LostEcho. It wasn't an empty profile anymore. It had 1 follower, me. My digital path had been irrevocably altered. The algorithm became my prison. The rules, once mere warnings, were now a desperate struggle for digital survival. My practical nature was useless here. The insights I gained from LostEcho became an addiction, a necessity. I started seeking out the late-night hours, deciphering the whispers, reconstructing the fragments of forgotten data, trying to find a way out. Rule number 4. Never look directly into the faces of strangers in photos from obscure events or places you don't recognize. Their eyes are gateways. If they turned towards you, they found their way out. One night, while meticulously cross-referencing my mental map of the algorithm's known anomalies, I noticed it. The photo feed before me, usually a curated stream of digital noise, now curved in a way that defied all logical programming. A new post, marked only by a faded pixelated timestamp reading "Data Void," appeared in the distance. What was more unsettling was the faint, rhythmic hum emanating from within, a soft thrumming, like a server running on borrowed time, beckoning me down a path that wasn't there yesterday. My eyes flickered to an image. It was a group photo from an obscure convention from decades ago, filled with blurry faces. It was just a habit, a quick scroll through. But it wasn't just a static image. A woman in the background, her face previously indistinct, slowly turned her head. Her eyes, pixelated and black, seemed to bore into my soul. I flinched, almost dropping my phone. The face in the photo vanished, but the chilling certainty that I was not alone in this digital space, that something else was watching, was now undeniable. The digital realm here wasn't just unstable, it was volatile. I had glimpsed a possible truth, and in investigating it, I hadn't just found a new feed. I had become part of its design. The algorithm was a living, breathing network, and I was now a node in its unfolding data stream. I felt a new fear, a cold, clinical dread that permeated the air. The algorithm was a creator, yes, but also a devourer. The changes on the feed became more pronounced. Post timestamps would subtly rearrange themselves. Comments I swore I saw an hour ago would disappear, only to reappear on unrelated posts. Distant profiles I had once followed would coalesce into fleeting spectral figures on my screen. The air itself seemed to hum with a low, almost imperceptible vibration, a constant chorus of silent whispers from phantom likes. Rule number 5. If your recommended content shifts to show you videos or images of your own private life, e.g., old family photos, forgotten personal videos, that you've never uploaded, immediately close the app and disconnect from the internet for at least 6 hours. My struggle wasn't against other users or trolls. It was against the algorithm itself. I started observing the shadowy figures in my recommended videos, the so-called lost engagers, trying to understand their patterns. Marcus Watcher's posts mention them as those consumed by the feed. What kind of consumption? What secrets did they hold? One night, chasing a particularly elusive anomaly in my digital data stream, a trending topic that kept appearing out of sequence, I found myself frustrated. The temporal anomaly wasn't quite right. It needed more depth, more origin. I looked across the vast, endless scroll. In a recommended video thumbnail, bathed in an eerie, dim green light, sat a familiar figure. It was an old video of my childhood birthday party, a moment I'd never digitized, never uploaded. My heart pounded. Marcus Watcher's warning echoed, "The feed is learning. It's not just showing you content. It's showing you, and it's preparing to absorb." I looked closer. The video, it was of my family, my parents laughing, and there in the center, a younger me, blowing out candles. But it wasn't just a video. Lines of shimmering, indistinct data flowed across the screen, writing and rewriting themselves in a continuous silent stream. I looked closer. The data, it was of Emma, my old online friend, but filled with posts she had never made, memories she had never formed. It was her lost digital life being continuously created, overwritten, consumed, and as I stared, the shimmering data formed a name. Jordan. It was calling me. I gasped, stumbling back, hitting the wall. The video finally stirred, its shadowy form slowly shifting. My reflection was still obscured, but I felt a gaze of infinite knowledge, of profound sorrow, and a hunger that chilled me to the bone. It wasn't just a video. It was an amalgamation, a collective consciousness of countless lost engagers, each absorbed into the algorithm's unending feed. And they wanted more. They weren't just studies, they were presences, lingering echoes of minds who had poured their souls into this place. They filled my head, a cacophony of creative anguish and unfulfilled potential. My own voice, small and insignificant, was drowned out by the chorus. I gasped, clutching my head. The algorithm wanted more than just data. It wanted narratives. It wanted lives. It wanted everything. But the truth was far worse than I imagined. The algorithm wasn't some supernatural entity. It was a carefully designed system created by Nexus Analytics, a subsidiary of one of the world's largest tech conglomerates. The lost engagers weren't consumed by digital ghosts. They were test subjects in an illegal psychological manipulation experiment. Dr. Sarah Chen, the lead researcher I discovered through leaked documents, had been studying digital dependency and identity dissolution for over a decade. The 8 rules weren't warnings from a concerned user. They were part of the experiment itself, designed to make subjects paranoid, isolated, and more susceptible to algorithmic control. Emma hadn't vanished into some digital void. She'd been recruited, like dozens of others, for the final phase of the experiment. Her disappearance was staged, her last post a trigger designed to draw in her closest online connections. People like me, already vulnerable from social media cancellation. Marcus Watcher wasn't a digital ghost. He was Dr. Chen's research assistant, Marcus Webb, who'd grown horrified by the experiment's scope and tried to warn potential victims through the rules. His disappearance was corporate silencing, permanent and final. The LostEcho profile wasn't an empty vessel. It was a honeypot, designed to identify and track individuals who showed signs of digital paranoia, people who might expose Nexus Analytics' illegal research. I'd been marked from the moment I clicked on it. Rule number 6, never delete old posts, comments, or profiles that you no longer wish to be associated with. These are anchors to your past self. Deleting them creates digital voids that something else will fill. The final test came when I discovered the truth. Dr. Chen's team had been monitoring my every move, every rule I followed, every paranoid thought I developed. They wanted to see if I'd delete my controversial post, the one that had destroyed my career, as a final act of digital self-destruction. It was a trap. Deleting the post would trigger the final phase, complete digital identity erasure, followed by recruitment into their program as a reformed test subject. I'd become another Emma, another Marcus Watcher, another ghost in their machine. My hands trembled over the delete button. This was it, the ultimate choice. Accept their narrative, erase my past, and become another data point in their research. Or find another way. I thought of Emma, wherever she was now, of Marcus Webb, silenced for trying to warn others, of all the lost engagers who'd been consumed not by digital spirits, but by corporate greed and scientific hubris. I made my choice. Instead of deleting the post, I screenshot everything, every leaked document, every piece of evidence about Nexus Analytics' illegal research. Then I did something Dr. Chen's algorithm couldn't predict. I went public. Not on social media, where they controlled the narrative. I went to investigative journalists, whistleblower organizations, and regulatory agencies. I exposed everything. The scandal broke within weeks. Nexus Analytics stock price plummeted. Dr. Chen was arrested. Dozens of disappeared content creators were found in corporate-funded rehabilitation facilities, their memories fragmented, but their bodies alive. Emma was among them. She'd been held for months, subjected to experimental treatments designed to reset her digital identity. She remembered fragments, the staged disappearance, the isolation, the constant psychological manipulation. But she was alive, and she was angry. Marcus Webb wasn't as fortunate. We found his body in a storage unit, ruled a suicide, but clearly something more sinister. His final message, hidden in encrypted files, revealed the full scope of Nexus Analytics research. They weren't just studying digital dependency, they were perfecting it, planning to sell the technology to authoritarian governments and corporate interests worldwide. The 8 rules he'd written weren't supernatural warnings. They were a desperate attempt to help people recognize the signs of algorithmic manipulation. Each rule corresponded to a specific psychological trigger Nexus Analytics used to identify and isolate vulnerable users. The real horror wasn't digital ghosts or supernatural algorithms. It was the banality of corporate evil, the willingness of ordinary people to destroy lives for profit and research data. But we'd won. The research was exposed, the company dismantled, and new regulations were put in place to prevent similar experiments. The internet became a little safer, a little more transparent. Emma and I started a new project, educating people about digital manipulation, helping them recognize when their online experiences were being artificially shaped. We called it Digital Literacy Defense, and it grew into a movement. We learned that the most dangerous rules weren't supernatural commandments whispered by digital spirits. They were the invisible algorithms that shaped our thoughts, the corporate policies that treated human consciousness as raw material, and the social systems that made us so desperate for validation that we'd sacrifice our autonomy for a few more likes. The real rules we discovered weren't about avoiding digital ghosts. They were about maintaining human agency in an increasingly algorithmic world. Rule number 1, your worth isn't measured in engagement metrics. Seek validation from real relationships, not digital ones. Rule number 2, if a platform's algorithm seems to know you better than you know yourself, that's not magic. It's surveillance. Protect your data. Rule number 3, when social media makes you feel paranoid, isolated, or desperate, that's not your fault. It's by design. Take breaks. Seek help. Rule number 4, question everything that seems too perfectly tailored to your interests. True serendipity is rare in algorithmic feeds. Rule number 5, your digital footprint is valuable. Companies will pay billions for it. Make sure you're getting something worthwhile in return. Rule number 6, the most dangerous manipulation is the kind you don't notice. Stay aware of how platforms influence your thoughts and behaviors. Rule number 7, if something online seems too good to be true or too perfectly designed to trigger your emotions, it probably is. Rule number 8, remember that behind every algorithm is a human being with their own agenda. Ask yourself, what do they want from you? I am Jordan Blake, digital literacy advocate and survivor of corporate psychological manipulation. My scroll is no longer endless. It's intentional, critical, and human. The real monsters weren't supernatural entities lurking in the code. They were ordinary people in corporate boardrooms, treating human consciousness as a commodity to be harvested and sold. But we fought back. And we won. My life is no longer measured in likes and shares. It's measured in real connections, genuine relationships, and the knowledge that I helped expose one of the most insidious forms of digital manipulation ever attempted. Emma recovered fully, though she still has nightmares about the isolation chambers where Nexus Analytics held their test subjects. She's become a powerful advocate for digital rights, speaking at conferences and helping draft legislation to prevent similar abuses. The other survivors formed a support network, helping each other rebuild their digital identities on their own terms. Some chose to leave social media entirely. Others, like us, stayed to fight for a more ethical internet. Dr. Chen received a 20-year sentence for human experimentation and corporate fraud. In her final statement, she showed no remorse, claiming her research would have revolutionized human-computer interaction. She still believed she was a visionary, not a monster. The technology Nexus Analytics developed was destroyed, though we know similar research continues in other labs, other countries, other corporate structures. The fight for digital autonomy is ongoing. But we proved something important. Human beings are not just data points to be manipulated. We have agency, creativity, and the power to resist even the most sophisticated forms of psychological control. The internet doesn't have to be a place where attention is currency and human consciousness is a commodity. It can be a tool for genuine connection, creative expression, and positive change. We just have to fight for it. If you find yourself lost in the endless scroll, questioning your worth through engagement metrics, or feeling like your online experience is being manipulated, remember, you're not paranoid. You're paying attention. The most dangerous rules aren't supernatural warnings whispered by digital spirits. They're the invisible algorithms that shape our thoughts, the corporate policies that treat us as products, and the social systems that make us desperate for validation. But corporate manipulation isn't the only place where strange rules guard terrifying truth. Sometimes the most dangerous instructions come from the pursuit of physical perfection, in places that promise transformation but demand everything in return. Imagine a luxury gym that operates 24 hours, but has a special midnight program for clients seeking the perfect body. Never look at yourself in the mirror after you leave. Your reflection will not be yours, because the pursuit of physical perfection can lead to an unspeakable transformation, one where your very body becomes a canvas for something else. Subscribe to Midnight Rules and hit that notification bell for more bone-chilling tales of twisted rules that could save your life or cost you everything you hold dear. Next week, we face the ultimate physical challenge with The Perfect Physique, 10 Rules for the Midnight Gym.